Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today at this iStaging talk, this iStaging webinar. My name is Stefan, and I'm here today with my colleague Andrea, who you can speak with on the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. She'll be sending out some helpful information throughout this talk, as well as you can ask her any questions. She'll answer them, but if you don't get an immediate answer, don't worry. We will cover those at the end of the talk during a live Q&A session as well. I want to say hi to everyone that is joining us live from Facebook as well. So if you have a question there, just post it in the comments and Andrea will either answer them or make sure that they get to me so that we can answer them at the end of today's talk. In the webinar today, we're going to be talking about how to create a virtual tour of your physical space. And we're going to be talking a little bit about different types of cameras. We're going to be talking about preparation before you go and do a shoot. Some tips and tricks, and I will do a live demo, or I'll attempt to do a live demo of our capture solution that you can use with your smartphone. So that's really easy, and during that I'll also give some tips and tricks that you can use regardless of the camera that you're using or that you have. So this could be relevant, as most of you know, we're a platform that enable, where you can actually build virtual experiences, virtual tours, virtual showrooms, virtual exhibitions, whatever industry you might be active in. This will be relevant, whether you are in the real estate industry and need to capture a property and create a tour of that, or if you have a retail store and you want to create a virtual store, basically. Or an automotive showroom and create a virtual showroom of that. If you have a physical exhibition that you're hosting and you want to duplicate that and enable people to actually join you online as well. If you're in the tourist industry, or basically, anything, or even in education, if you're part of a university or school, if the university itself, or even if you have a residency, next to it where students live. All of that could be possible. You can build these experiences with our platform, and I'll talk today on how you can do that. So let's dive right in, and I'll start by talking a little bit about different cameras that you can use. Now, ultimately, I'll start with, I think, the most important thing, which is no matter what 360 camera you use, as long as it creates a panoramic image, so a panorama with a ratio of 2:1, so for example 8,000 to 4,000 pixels, then you can upload that panorama to our platform and start building your experience, right? So it doesn't really matter what 360 camera you use, as long as that is the output of the camera, a panorama with a ratio of 2:1, then you can upload it, all right? So that's important to know. Now, most of you, obviously, you're thinking about, one of the things you think about is quality, ease of use, and price. You have cameras that range from anywhere of a couple $100 all the way up to thousands of dollars. Now, I assume that most of you will be looking at somewhere between the $0 and $1,000 range, and there are many of them. Now, we are obviously not able to test all of them, but we've had quite a few. And some of the ones that you might have heard of are the Insta360, the Insta1X, the GoPro, the CanDAO. I don't know if you guys know that, and maybe most famously could be the Ricoh Theta. The Ricoh Theta has various models. They, for example, have the Ricoh Theta S, SC, V, Z, and they're different. There's a different price range. I think probably the most expensive one is the Z. The Ricoh Theta Z for $1,000, which also provides the highest quality. But I think, generally, if you talk about ease of use and, quality and price, you're probably looking at, best be looking at something in the range of $200 to $500. If you buy anything that is, more expensive than that, unless you are a professional photographer, there's a high chance that you don't even really see the difference that clearly. And some of these cameras actually have live streaming capabilities as well, which obviously make it more expensive, but they're not that relevant for what we're talking about today. Now, if you're talking about a recommendation from our side, I can imagine you're wondering why on earth is he not showing any of these cameras. I actually had one or a couple yesterday, but then an emergency came up and they needed to be taken away, needed to be used by someone, so that's why. But this happens. But we actually have an app, a VR Maker smartphone app, and I'll show you a demonstration of that in a minute. But if you have specific cameras, we have integrated with a couple of cameras that make it easy to actually capture in the first place and then automatically upload it to our platform instead of having to download the panoramas from the camera and then ultimately upload them, which is just an extra step. So some of the cameras that are integrated are the Insta1X, all right? The 1X2 is not yet integrated, so the Insta1X, the Ricoh Theta S, SC, V, and Z all work with our app. And well, we have a Panono camera as well, but that's a pretty old one, so I'm assuming that most of you don't have that particular one. But those are the main ones. So if you have one of those, which are quite popular, then you can use our app, connect the camera to our app directly, and then once you with the click of a button, take a 360 image, it will automatically upload it to our platform, our V editor, to your account if you have an account, and you can then start building your tour. The Ricoh Theta, if you ask us personally or me personally, I would say I think that the Ricoh Theta V is a very good option, or the Insta1X. And both of them are approximately in the $400 to $500 range. So a very acceptable price, very high quality, and easy to use. Okay, I see that there are a couple of people that are already asking questions. We'll cover those a bit later on. Okay, so that's a little bit about cameras and hardware. Then before you actually go and do a shoot, there is some preparation that you can actually do at home to make sure that once you're at the location, that is actually successful. One of the first things, regardless of whatever camera you use, that you're going to need is a tripod. All right, so here you go. I'll use this in a minute, but any tripod basically works. All right, it could you can buy a tripod for anywhere between $20 and $50. It doesn't have to be super fancy or a really expensive one. If you use one of the cameras or your smartphone that I'll demonstrate in a bit, then you'll see that it's not that heavy, so it doesn't have to be a really comprehensive tripod anyway. So that's the first thing. And obviously, before you go out, make sure that your cameras or your phone, or in case of our solution, you will also have a rotator here, this little thing that I'll talk about in a bit. Make sure that that's charged. All right, 100%. That's something. And I don't know if you guys probably you don't have a backup of equipment, but if you do, just simply take it with you. So in case anything happens, you would have that in your car or something like that. Then the day before you actually go or shoot, or the day of, do a quick test at home. Obviously, if you've done this 1,000 times or 100 times, I'm assuming that you know exactly what to do and how it works. But if you're still new at this, or you're not that comfortable yet, most of you are probably not professional photographers. Even though it's really easy to use, you don't have to be. But still, it's good to feel more comfortable when you actually go out and shoot. So do a test at home. Make sure that how it all works, that the process. There's always something. Even when we are testing, there's always something that comes up, or a question that you might have. It's better to do that a day or a couple of days before than stand there and then waste your time driving, or in some cases locations might be quite a bit far away. You don't want to run into any trouble there. And then number 3 would be thinking about the location. So where are you actually going to go? All right. Now, are you shooting outside? Are you taking images, 360 images outside or inside? What does it look like? How big is the venue? Is it a big property with multiple floors? Do you have to be in a garden? Do you have an exhibition hall to do? How long are you actually going to need, right? How many shots do you think you're going to take? Are you taking 10? Are you literally taking 100 for a huge hall? What about the lighting? What's the lighting like? Is it, Is it a very bright space? Is there lots of windows? Again, if you have to go outside, what's the weather like? Make sure, because if it's raining, you can't do anything. And at the same time, if it's a gray day, or it's not very sunny, that also impacts the lighting within a certain space or a building. Now, I know that in terms of lighting, there's probably not much that you can do, but anyway, it is good to think about all of these things before you actually go. So these are things to keep in mind before you actually go do a shoot, I would say. Now, let's before I talk about some some tips and tricks and what you have to think about when you're actually shooting and on the day and where you're actually at the location, let me introduce our capture solution, which you can also use. So if you're part of our platform, if you have a subscription, you automatically also have access to our VR Maker app, which is a smartphone app available on iOS and Android. So you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store to actually download the app. All right, you can log in with your account. Now, if you want to use a smartphone, I think that Andrea in a couple of minutes will probably send out the compatibility requirements. I think 90%, more than 90% of the smartphones are actually compatible. But here you can see she just sent it out what your smartphone needs to have for the app to actually work. But if you have a newer smartphone, there shouldn't be any issues most of the time. So besides your smartphone, you will need 2 additional pieces of equipment. And I already mentioned one, or actually essentially 3. But this little rotator here on top of the tripod that I already placed on top, that's number 1. Number 2 is a little lens, all right, here, that they will come together in a kit that you can purchase in our portal store. So you can purchase that after you've signed up to an account, all right? Then you'll have access to the store, and then you can buy the equipment for $50 US, okay? Both rotator lens, $50 US, excluding shipping. So in terms of costs, I think that the smartphone solution is clearly the most cost effective, because some of the cheaper cameras that we talked about today are already 10 times as expensive as using your own smartphone, which essentially also is $1,000 most of the time, around $1,000 or $500 to $1,000 with wonderful camera in it. So the rotator and the lens, you will need that, and you need an iStaging, an active iStaging subscription, because if you don't, the hardware is useless. So there's no point in buying the hardware if you don't have an account, because you can't do anything with it. Okay. Now, once you get that equipment, all right, obviously you will need the tripod that I mentioned, and you can just screw the rotator on top. Now, once you are at the location, you most likely want to put the tripod approximately at chest height, because remember, when you are actually capturing, the lens, that is basically the viewpoint. So if that viewpoint is very low or extremely high, in a virtual experience, that will feel really strange. So approximately chest height, obviously that depends on how tall you are. In my case, I'm about 185 centimeters. So you have an idea of what I mean by that. That would generally be a good height, I guess. So then once you've done that, you would you download the VR Maker app on your phone. You log in, and I'll do that now. All right, I've already downloaded it. Make sure that you have a stable internet connection. This is important. So when you go out, you do need an internet connection to be able to make this work. All right, so also something to think about. Then you need to pair your smartphone with the rotator via Bluetooth. All right, so what you do is turn on Bluetooth on your phone. All right, and this is sort of the, let's see if I can make that sort of show you guys. Well, this is the main screen of the app. I think I can do it this way. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There you go. Very good. So this is the main screen of the app. Once you've turned on Bluetooth, all right, you can click on the capture button at the bottom of the screen, which is a pink button. Okay. Now, and obviously we want to turn on the rotator with the on button. There are a couple more buttons on the rotator. You don't need to use those. All right, those are from like an older version of the app. No need. Bluetooth will make all of this work. So all you need to do is turn it on and turn Bluetooth on, okay? Now make sure that there are no other Bluetooth devices in the area, because otherwise that might mess up the connection. Another thing that is important to know is that the Bluetooth, the rotator, does not show up in your Bluetooth devices. So you don't have to go looking for it. Doesn't mean it doesn't work, it just doesn't show up. That's just how the rotator works. You don't have to worry about that. Simply turn on Bluetooth, click on the capture button, and you will see that it starts connecting automatically. And once it's actually connected, you can see, all right, you see once it's connected, the capture screen will open. That means that, your rotator and smartphone are actually connected. Now we want to turn on or place the lens on the lens of your phone. All right, like that, depending on where the lens basically is. This, depending on the phone that you're using, I'm now using a Google phone, and that makes it, they have one lens, which is quite easy, so I can just clip it on. If you have iPhones or Samsung, I know that there are multiple lenses, and this might be a little bit of trial and error. All right, now ultimately you would want to create a sort of a black circle at the top that kind of looks like that. That would be, make sure that that circle is sharp, that it's not like a bit blurry. All right, so that'll be important. Again, this is a little bit of trial and error. This is why if you're using this solution, make sure that you try this a couple times at home so that you feel comfortable with doing this. Okay, now we're placing, by the way, the lens is there to make sure that it captures the entire space, right? Otherwise, you would only basically capture when it's rotating. It would just capture this area. We want to make sure that it also captures the ceiling and the floor. All right, that's what the lens is for. What we often get asked, can I use another rotator or another lens? That's definitely not recommended, because our lens and rotator have been optimized to work perfectly with the app. If you use anything else, we cannot confirm or we cannot make sure that you get the optimal quality. All right, that is important to know. Now we want to place our smartphone on the rotator like that. And what is important, there are a couple things here. I'm going to turn this around a little bit like that. I think you guys can see that. Here we go. Yep. You want to make sure that the lens is almost perfectly aligned with the center of your rotator. Obviously, if your camera is on the side, that means that you see that the phone is also not exactly in the middle. It's a little bit further to the left or to the right. Okay. Obviously, if your camera lens is in the middle of your phone, you don't have that problem. Because that optimizes the stitching process later on. Important, don't go too far left or too far right, because if you do that and it falls off the rotator of about 1.5 meters or something like that, we have a real problem, especially when we're talking about the expensive device, an expensive device. So something to keep in mind. So you're then set up. Make sure that the entire thing, so the tripod and the rotator and the smartphone, are all sort of perfectly vertically aligned. All right, the more vertical this is, the straighter this is, the better your end result will be. All right, then there are a couple more buttons at the bottom. Now, if you actually have the app, you'll see them. There's one that is a timer, all right, where you can choose 3 or 10 seconds. That is basically a countdown, so I could literally press on the capture button and then walk out of a room, for example, all right, so that you're not actually in the shot. And there's an HDR button. HDR basically helps you adjust the quality or the lighting within a space. So if you're, especially if you're in a darker space or in a space where there's a very high contrast between different sides, then HDR could be useful. Don't use HDR for every single space. If it's a well-lit space and it looks good, no need to use HDR, then it doesn't really do much. All right, so only if you need to really improve the lighting or the quality, because you're just working with a space that doesn't look that great in terms of lighting. And once we're ready, by the way, one other thing, at the bottom you see all kinds of words here, which are the different cameras that are compatible. And you would obviously select, if you're using an Insta360 or a Theta, you would click on the Insta360 or the Theta so that you can then connect. It will give you instructions and connect to that camera. All right. Now, obviously, we're right now using the rotator, so I would click on rotator. That that's how that would work. We're basically good to go now, and all I need to do is press the capture button, and you'll see that automatically it starts rotating. Now, within about 30 seconds, depending on the phone that you're using, I'm now in the shot, but that doesn't matter. It will take about 8 photos, automatically stitch them together, and then you have a perfectly stitched panoramic image. What you'll see when it actually starts rotating is that there is a circle around it, which is either green, yellow, or red. And that indicates how well you have placed your lens on your smartphone. Okay, so now, because placing a lens on this phone is quite easy, I had a green circle, which makes it you get the best quality capture. If you have a yellow circle, it's still probably doable, it's still okay. But if you have a red circle, I would suggest to adjust your lens and then capture again, all right, just to make sure that you have the best quality. Okay, we're done now, and next to the capture button, you'll see that there's an album button, all right, and when we click on that, you see the image that you've just taken, and you can preview that image. Okay, so every single time you do a capture like this, I would actually try and suggest that for most cameras, but that's not always possible. So I guess that's the benefit of using a smartphone, is to preview your image, making sure that you like what you've captured, that it's good, that it's high quality, and that you can then move on. Because if you don't, and you take 30 or 20 or 30 pictures, and they're not the quality or something went wrong, obviously that would be a total disaster. So every single time, make sure that you preview. And if you're happy with the capture, you would simply just take your tripod, all right, and go, place it in a different location. In terms of capturing in a room, all right, so yes, you would place it in the middle of the room, I would say. If it's a living room, a bigger living room, you can imagine that you would take 2 images in different spaces. Important to mention is, generally, if you're asking me or asking where should my next capture be, well, I would basically want to see where I'm going. All right, so don't put one here and then 100 meters away take your next capture, or in a completely different room, because in a virtual experience, that feels weird. When I'm clicking on a next, on an arrow where I'm virtually walking, and I suddenly end up in a completely different space, that just feels weird. So make sure that you can actually see where you're going. That would be a good reference as to how you would capture through a space. Again, all of this stuff that I've been talking about in terms of how to set up and the height would also go if you use a Ricoh Theta or an Insta360 or a Candau or a GoPro, whatever 360 camera. And that's how you would basically capture all of the spaces. Once you've done all of that, you can, again, in the album, so here we're still in the album, you can select all the images in the right corner, and at the bottom there is a button that says upload. You can then basically upload 5, 10, 20 pictures all at the same time, and once they're uploaded, again, you need to have a decent internet connection for that. Once they're uploaded, you can log into our VR editor to your account, and you would see all of them there, and you can then start connecting them, or start editing, adding a floor plan or tags and titles and descriptions and locations and that type of stuff. We can cover that in a different webinar. Some of the editing, so adding hotspots, for example, basically connecting panoramas together, you can actually also do in the app, but we don't really have time for that today. I think probably the easiest way of doing it is just using your laptop or your desktop, and I hope that you guys can still hear me. Sometimes the internet is maybe a little shaky. Yes, so that's probably the easiest, to connect the hotspots on your desktop or laptop in the VR editor. Okay, I probably talked a lot, and I hope that this was sort of clear. I think that I'll probably think of some other stuff, and there's probably more to say, but let's look at some questions now to see if I can help you guys out and see if this was helpful, this demonstration for you. All right, I see someone asked, I think Michelle asked, the camera in the middle of the room. Yes, it's better that that's in the middle of the room. Absolutely. Again, if you have a very large space, you know, if you're in a big showroom, a retail showroom, then you know, again, in the middle of a space would generally be good, because you have a 360, you know, a 360 image. So if I put this camera in the corner, which is what you would do if you would just take a 2D image, right, to sort of get a wide shot, that's not necessary in 360. So if I put it in the corner, that would just be really weird, because half of that would just be wall, not really interesting to look at. So always make sure, again, that's another good tip, around your tripod, about 1.5 meter, make sure that there's nothing, like no clutter, no tons of stuff around. All right, give the tripod a little bit of space. So yeah, then I'll just move this up like that. You know, to get the best result. Again, if you're doing any type of property, you know, clean it up. All right, make sure that there's no little things lying around. So that you have a good, the best quality image. All right. Are there any? You couldn't use your cell phone when trying to take a 360 picture. Is because I need the iStaging rotating tripod. That's correct. Yes, you will need the iStaging rotator and smartphone. So if you want to use our app, all right, this rotator and this lens are mandatory. You will need them to be able to use the app properly. Okay, so again, you can buy them in the Portal store. It is by far the most affordable solution. This, you know, I'll be honest, obviously this takes a little bit longer than if you would use, for example, a Ricoh Theta, which is literally one click on a button and it takes an image, right? Now in this case, it takes about 30 seconds to do a rotation. Still not very long, but yeah. So again, you know, that camera does cost about 10 times as much as you know, using your own smartphone. Okay, can we create our own virtual showroom design like a complete mall? Okay, there's a lot to this question, or there can be a lot to this question, so let me try and keep it simple. If you're talking about a physical space, so a physical mall, all right, that you have, then yes, you can, again, take one of the devices that I talked about today and go and capture and then build a virtual mall on our platform. If you say I don't have a mall, all right, but I want to do a 3D render design, like, you know, I have a designer, for example, that can do the 3D renders, then you can also do that. That's also possible. So that's another way of creating content, actually having 3D rendered images. Again, having an image that is with a ratio of 2:1, excuse me, is the most important thing. So if you're using a 3D software like 3ds Max or something like that, you can extract panoramas from that in that ratio and then upload it to our platform to build your virtual mall. Another thing to that is that we have tons of templates. We have booth templates, entrance templates, exhibition hall templates that you can choose from. Or at least you can purchase. Choose is maybe not the right word. So you can purchase those. If you're interested, just reach out to us and we can send you the link. And you can take a look at all of those templates and then you can use those and then basically design your whole virtual mall. I hope that answered your question. All right, John, I'm unable to see the rotator in the store. Could you provide the link? John, do you have a paid subscription? That is important. So if you have an actual paid subscription, then you should be able to see it in the store. If not, if you have all right, so that you said not yet. So that's the issue. That's why you don't see the rotator and lens yet. You need a paid subscription before you can buy the rotator and lens. So I would say upgrade first, and then you can see the rotator and lens there. Mainly because we don't sell, you know, we're not really a hardware company. These are just two things that are necessary to use our software. So that's why the rotator and lens cannot be sold separately of any subscription. All right. I hope that answered your question. I think it did. So just upgrade. Now, if I talk about, I can say a little bit about our subscription. If you go to our pricing page, you see different plans over there. You have, if you want to create virtual tours, the pay by usage plan, you know, for $5 a month is great. You know, that works very well. if you want something more comprehensive, so for example, if you talk about a virtual mall or you talk about, a virtual showroom, then you're probably going to need more editing capabilities in terms of, putting stuff into your virtual tour, more information. And that's when the showroom plans, so standard and business, become really important and really interesting. So you're a bit confused about the pricing, John. All right, so the pay by usage plan, all right, basically the structure is the same for all of the plans. They're all based on usage. So let's take the pay by usage as an example. That is $5 a month. For those $5 a month, you'll be able to have 3 active virtual tours. All right. Now you can delete a virtual tour and then add another one at no additional cost. But the maximum would be 3 for the $5. You can then, as you go, basically add an additional tour. So if you say, okay, I need more tours in my account, so I need 4 or 5 tours, then you can add them for $2.50 per tour per month. Now, at the end of the month, so to give you an indication of how the billing works, let's say that throughout the month of July, the maximum number, or the highest number of active tours was 5. That means that your bill, your invoice, will be $5 for the first 3 for your basic subscription, plus 2 times 2 additional tours, $2.50, an additional 5, which means at the end of the month your bill is $10. Does that make sense? That's basically the pay by usage. But the $5 is always the basic subscription, and if you have 3 tours, not more than 3 tours, then you can that would be it. Now, if you go up to, let's say, 8, 9, 10 tours, or even 20, or even 100, then I think we have annual plans that could be really attractive. So if you're a bit of a more heavy user, reach out, and then we can help you with an annual plan with more attractive pricing, obviously. All right, John, I hope that answered your question regarding the pricing. Now, Khalil, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If not, probably not, I sincerely apologize. How should I price the tours to my clients? Ooh, that's a very interesting question. Yes. So, all right. There's this could be an entire webinar on its own, to be honest, to talk about this type of stuff. This depends on, well, first of all, it depends on your location, where you're based, because prices, differ in different countries. All right. I have seen tours that have been priced, $200, $300, $400 per tour. I've also seen some that maybe are $50 US. Some might even be $1,000 or more than that, depending on how complicated it is, how big the space is. So I think maybe you can, price it. You could do it based on square meters or square footage, I guess, of the place, or based on the number of images that you've taken, or the time that it will take you. But in terms of pricing, I think generally somewhere between $50 and $300 US, all right, per tour. That I think is the most common. Again, this is not a set in stone or a rule. I think that could probably work. And then obviously, if you use our platform, there are all kinds of editing capabilities as well. So you can spend some time on that as well and say, hey, I'm going to charge more for additional work, right? If you say, okay, I'm also going to add a floor plan. I'm going to add, informational tags within the virtual tour, depending on, what kind of virtual tour you're creating. So there's lots of variables that you can take into consideration to actually price your tours. This is only a tiny little bit of what I could possibly talk about in this space. So maybe we could do a webinar about that in the future. But I hope this gave you a little bit of insight of what we know. Again, feel free to reach out to us for more information if you're looking for that. No worries, no problem. Any other questions? All right, so I think 2 more questions. One I can answer relatively quickly. In a tour, how many images can you add? In a tour, you can add, depending on the plan, by the way, In the pay by usage plan, so for the $5 a month, you can add 30 panoramas per tour. Okay? Now, in the standard and business plans, all right, that would be 5 and 3 because the purpose is different. Those are for showrooms, not specifically virtual tours, and the editing capabilities are much more comprehensive there. So that's why they're a bit more expensive and there are less panoramas. But in the pay by usage, you have 30. And then I think I see John ask another question. Need to know how to do white label. Another question that we can talk about for about an hour. White label obviously is the first thing that we need to clarify is what we mean with white label, because you ask 10 different people, they will give you 10 different answers. White label, I'm assuming that you're talking about just branding the whole thing, right? Without having the name iStaging visible anywhere. That is possible. The only thing that is not customizable at the moment is the URL link. Okay, so the URL will have iStaging in it. Anything in the tour can be completely branded with your brand or your contact information, your name. iStaging will not show up anywhere. And the second thing is, if you take that URL and you embed it, for example, on a website, which is very easy to do. On our help center, there was an article that indicates how you can embed virtual tours. Then obviously that URL link is automatically hidden, and then iStaging is not available anywhere or not seen anywhere. In that case, it would basically be fully white labeled. So I hope that answers your question. I think that should probably do it. If you need more clarification, feel free to reach out. Can I create unlimited tours in an enterprise account? We don't really offer accounts with unlimited numbers of tours. Because most of the time people don't need an unlimited number of tours. We've never seen, a client that has 50,000 virtual tours. It just basically doesn't exist. So actually, but we do have more affordable plans, all right, with custom, basically custom plans, depending on the number of tours that you need. So if you just let us know, okay, I'm looking for approximately, a maximum of 100 tours throughout the year that I need, or 500. Then we can make you an offer or a deal for that particular plan, if that makes sense. Which ultimately is financially probably more attractive than having a plan that has unlimited tours. So I hope that answers your question, Cynthia. All right, I think John says email, please. Maybe he's talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about the email of, for us to reach out to us. You can contact us at hello@istaging.com, and you can, our customer service, hello@istaging.com. I think Indra will send out the information, and then we will help you out. And then one of our people, could be me, but one of our people will reach out to you and connect with you and help you out. And then Tim is asking a question: is there a reason for the limitation on the number of panos that can be used in a single tour? Yes, there is a reason for that, Tim. We want to make sure that the experience stays smooth. So if you go through a tour now, you'll notice that it is a smooth experience. It loads really quickly. When you start adding, let's say, 60 or 90 panoramas in one tour, that could slow down the tour significantly. And then if you take that, on top of that, that sometimes internet connections are not always as stable. We say 30 is in the pay by usage plan is the max to do that. Now we have features to actually be able to connect virtual tours or group them together. So then you would be able to have, let's say, a couple of virtual tours, 3 together, and then have a total of 90, but, essentially under one link, but that still continues to, run smoothly. So that is the main reason for it. I hope that, yeah, absolutely, yeah. All right. Okay, well, I think that is, guys, if you don't mind, I will quickly turn on the AC here. It's a little bit hot. Yeah, let's see if there are no more questions. If that was it, obviously feel free to reach out at hello@iStaging.com, or on the website. There's a chat on the right hand side. I don't know if there were any questions on Facebook, but if there were and they were not answered yet, we will connect with you guys after the webinar. Webinar will be uploaded to YouTube sometime in the next 24 hours, so you can watch it if you want. And I see one more thing. Are there any live demo links? Yeah, we have a ton of them. We have tons of live demos and links and all that type of stuff. There are some in our gallery on the website. So if you go to the website and you go to gallery, you see tons of samples. If you are looking for something specific, if you say, hey, I want to do a specific virtual showroom or a virtual exhibition, do you have some sort of a sample of that? So maybe they're not available and we do have them, we can share those with you. So reach out and then let us know and we can share them with you. You can also make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, because there's tons of stuff that is being shared there as well by our team. Virtual showroom, yes, we have tons of those. So I think that we probably have your email because you registered for the webinar. So we'll contact you afterwards and we can talk about what you're looking for exactly and share some virtual showroom links. In case of a virtual showroom, you'll have to be looking at the standard or the business plan, which is definitely for showrooms specifically, which are either $55 or $95 a month. John, sorry, pricing again. Please advise what we get for standard $55 a month. So 55. Again, this would be specifically if if you want to do a virtual showroom. It's a showroom plan. So if you're just creating a virtual tour of a property or a space, the pay by usage plan does fine. In the standard plan for $55 a month, you get one tour, all right, with 5 panoramas. And for a showroom, and actually there's also a template that is included, a 3D template that you get. There's a free onboarding session and one-on-one onboarding session that you'll get as well to help you get started with the platform, because there are many more editing capabilities. You can turn basically an empty showroom, an empty 3D showroom, in a wonderful live, like a wonderful looking experience, and it's good to have a little bit of help with that to get you started. So if you're looking to create like a specific showroom, then the standard or business would be the way to go. If it's just a virtual tour with virtual, or just if you want to create a virtual walkthrough of a property or something like that, you can also do that with pay by usage. Can we see a sample, please? Yes, you can. John, I'll reach out to you after the webinar if you don't mind. All right? I'll reach out and send you a sample. The same would go for Centil. We'll reach out and send you some samples there as well, sort of a before and after, so you can see what can be done with the showroom. If you want to specifically know more, you can also reach out and ask for a live demo. I'd be happy to do that one-on-one to understand what it is that you're trying to create. All right? I hope that helps. Okay. All right, fantastic. Great, John. Then I think that's probably about it. It's a webinar that's a little bit longer. It's been almost 45 minutes than usual. Usually it's about 10 to 15, but good, great questions. That's always good. I hope I was able to answer them properly. I hope that you learned something. Again, webinar will be available tomorrow. Feel free to reach out. Please do. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and hopefully we can welcome you to the iStaging platform if you're not already there very, very soon. Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone on Facebook as well, and we'll hope to see you at the next one. Cheers.